We begin today's part with Mr Mime escaping from the circus. The Pokémon has been on the run for days. Mr Mime started making invisible walls all through Pallet Town to prevent Stella from catching it. Then it decides to climb on the barrier. Ash noticed Mr Mime and decides he wants to catch the Mr Mime for himself. Ash sends out his Squirtle and he commands Squirtle to use Bubble Beam, hitting Mr Mime. The Pokémon fell hard to the ground. Then Ash threw his Pokeball and successfully catches the Mr Mime. Ash celebrated. Yes, way to go Squirtle, you did great. You know what, you deserve a lot of rest after that battle. Ash ran and grabbed the Pokeball. Brock, Misty and Pikachu finally caught up with Ash and they celebrated with him with his newest capture. Then a woman screamed, "No! I was supposed to catch that Pokemon." Ash responds with, "It's finders keepers when it comes to catching wild Pokemon." She said, "You don't understand. I've been looking Mr Mime for days now, and catching the Pokemon was going to solve all my problems. Now what am I going to do? The circus starts tomorrow and now my only option is the other Mr Mime." Now wait a minute. If you already had a Mr Mime this whole time, why do you need the one that I just caught then? Because the other one doesn't listen to me. It just sits around eating chips and reading magazines all day. I trained with the other Mr Mime. It was going good for a while, but I was way too hard on it and it just gave up and ran away. Ash, please send out Mr Mime out of the Pokeball. Why should I trust you? You could hurt it again. Brock said, "Come on Ash, we should give her a chance." I could tell by the look on her face she wants to make things right. Ash says, "Fine. Mr Mime, I choose you." Mr Mime starts to panic, hiding behind Ash. Stella came up to Mr Mime. "I am so sorry for the way I treated you. Can you do one more show for me? I promise after this show you don't have to do it anymore." Mr Mime had a good think about it. The Pokemon said it would do it in one condition. The Pokemon wants Ash to do it with him. Ash was not the biggest fan of the idea because he needs to ask Professor Oak where the Pokemon League is. And he was planning on visiting his mum that day. But I guess that can all wait. We have a deal. Stella said, "Thank you so much. The circus is saved." They all arrived at the circus. Stella asked Ash can he wear the Mr Mime costume and Ash reluctantly puts it on. She said, "Now with both of you on stage, hopefully the other mime will start to get jealous." The two did their part. It was going well. Ash and Mr Mime were bonded together. Ash said, "This is not so bad, it's kinda fun." And then the one part Mr Mime was dreading. Stella got out the whip, hitting both Ash and Mr Mime at the same time. Then Mr Mime had enough. It ran away. Stella told Ash, "Quick, return Mr Mime to its Pokeball." Ash said he can't. None of my Pokeballs are in this costume. The Pokemon escaped once again. She said, "We have no choice. The show must go on." The rest of the episode can play out the same way for the most part, with Mr Mime still meeting Ash's mum, like in canon, and the two Mr Mime working together to defeat Team Rocket. Then we move on to the next episode, Showdown at the Corral. In this episode, we start off with Ash having a nightmare competing in the Pokemon League, when suddenly he's woken up by Mime vacuuming his face. Ash sits there for a moment contemplating what just happened, then suddenly Mime shoves the vacuum in his face once again. Ash says, "Come on Mime, I let it slide the first time because I thought it was an accident, but I know you were doing it on purpose." The episode can play out similar to canon, but with one huge difference. With Mr Mime getting carried away sweeping Mrs Ketchum's grass, it accidentally makes the trio blast off again. So they won't be for the rest of the episode, so that means Ash and Gary will get to have a one-on-one Pokemon battle, unlike in the original timeline. Gary sends out his Blastoise. He asked Ash, "What Pokemon are you planning on using?" Ash was about to choose Pikachu, but then Mime showed up. Ash said, "Hey Mime, do you want to battle and show Gary how strong we are?" Mime smiled, letting Ash know he's ready. Brock said, "Alright, I'll be the referee, so let the battle begin." Gary commands Blastoise to use Skull Bash. Then Ash commands Mr. Mime to use Barrier, blocking the Skull Bash. Gary said, "No way, I've never seen a barrier so strong. Now Mimey, use Psychic on Blastoise." Gary started having a flashback to his previous gym battle when he fought that Pokemon with the armor. I've never seen before, not only was powerful but evil too. I watched her helplessly, without giving my Pokemon any commands. I can't let this play out again. Just when Blastoise was about to hit the ground, Gary had an idea. "Blastoise, use Rapid Spin to break the control over Mr. Mime has over you." Yes, it worked. Now hit Mr. Mime. Alright Blastoise, let's finish this off with a Skull Bash. Alright Mimey, counter it with Focus Punch. The Pokemon charged at each other with powerful blows causing an explosion. Then the dust clears, they stare each other down, and it turns out to be a double knockout. Mr. Mime and Blastoise are unable to battle, so that means this round ends in a tie. Ash was over the moon, giving Mr. Mime a big hug. "You did amazing, Mimey." Gary was very disappointed with the outcome. He decides to return Blastoise back to its Pokeball. "What's wrong with me? This is embarrassing. First I lost to that gym leader, and now I'm tied with Ashy Boy out of all people. I got some more training to do. I'll see you in the league, Ashy Boy. You better not lose until we have our rematch." And Gary storms off and leaves. Ash was left there speechless. Misty said, "What was that all about?" Professor Oak said, "It's clear that Gary is not used to losing in battles, and he puts a lot of pressure on himself because of our family's reputation. And he wants to show the world how strong he is. He definitely reminds me of my younger self at times, both the positive and the negatives. And I must say, Ash, I'm really impressed with the battle you and Mr. Mime displayed today. The fact that you was able to hold your own against Gary and his Blastoise is really impressive. I feel like this Pokemon League competition is going to be quite the eventful one, and I'm looking forward to seeing how well you both do." "Thanks for the kind words, Professor Oak, but I'm worried about Gary. I've never seen him lose his cool like that before." "Don't worry about it, Ash, he will come around. A good bit of humbling will do him some good." Then we move on to the events of Bad to the Bone. We meet a Pokemon trainer named Atoshi, and he challenges Ash to a Pokemon battle. "And if you lose the battle, you would have to hand over all your gym badges to me." Ash says, "All of my badges? You must be crazy. Come on guys, we gotta go." Atoshi says, "What a coward. You're afraid of battling me in a private match, then what chances of you winning in a league match?" Ash says, "Don't call me a coward, I'll battle you right now." Misty and Brock are against this idea, but Ash says, "Don't worry guys, I'm going to win for sure." Atoshi sends out his Marowak and Ash sends out Mr. Mime. Atoshi commands Marowak to use Bone Club. Mr. Mime dodges all of Marowak's attacks. Marowak starts to get frustrated and Mr. Mime is laughing, having the time of his life. Atoshi commands Marowak to use Boomerang, and Mr. Mime was able to stop the Boomerang with its psychic abilities and send it right back to hit Marowak. Eventually Marowak got exhausted and Mr. Mime capitalizing on it. Without Ash's command, Mr. Mime uses Psychic on Marowak and knocking the Pokemon out. Atoshi was crying and explaining to Ash he has no badges to give because his badges were all stolen. It was all Team Rocket's fault, and Ash and gang decide to help Toshi get his gym badges. So the rest of the episode can play out the same way like in canon. Now we can move on to the events of Round 1 begin. The episode can play out mostly the same way except for one change. Since Ash has 6 Pokemon now, he has to make a decision which one he has to change for Krabby, but after giving it some thought, he decides to switch out Charizard because it's too much of a risk. Ash imagined using Charizard in one of the rounds, and it could get him disqualified from the competition because of its disobedience. He needs to work on Charizard, but that would have to wait till after the league. And just like in the original timeline, Ash was able to win his first round with his new evolved Kingler sweeping the match. Then we move on to the next episode, Fire and Ice. Unlike in the original timeline, we will see both battles in its entirety. Now let's start off with the rock field with Ash vs Kevin. Kevin sends out his Rapidash and Ash sends out his Mr Mime. Kevin commands Rapidash to use Fire Spin to trap Mr Mime. Oh no you don't, Mime, use Barrier to go above the Fire Spin. Yes, my plan worked. Rapidash, use Stomp to destroy that barrier. Mime, use Reflect. Rapidash, keep using Stomp. Reflect again, Mime. After a while, Rapidash eventually got stuck with all the reflects. Kevin said, what? But how? Mime, use Psychic on Rapidash. Not only Rapidash got hit by the Psychic attack, it got hit from the barriers from before, knocking the Pokemon out. Kevin recalls Rapidash back to its Pokeball and sends out his Poliwhirl. Oh wait, Mime, use Focus Punch. Poliwhirl, counter it with Hypnosis. Poliwhirl, use Belly Drum. Now Poliwhirl's attack stat is max, but it came the cost of half of its health. Now Poliwhirl, use Ice Punch on Mr Mime, and after one hit, Mr Mime was knocked out. Ash recalled Mr Mime back to its Pokeball, praising it for all the great work it did in that battle, and then Ash sends out his trusty Pikachu. Poliwhirl, use Surf. Pikachu, dodge it. Now Pikachu, use Thunderbolt on Poliwhirl. Poliwhirl is unable to battle, and the winner is Pikachu. Well done Pikachu, you did great buddy, you deserve some good rest. And now the last bit of the battle can play out exactly the same way like it did in the original timeline, with Squirtle defeating Nidorino. Now let's move on to the ice field. Ash's next opponent is Pete Pebblebin. Pete sends out his Graveler and Ash sends out Mr Mime. Graveler, use Rollout. Mime, counter it with Focus Punch. Mime's move was able to overpower the Rollout. After Graveler fell, hitting the ground, the pressure of its weight cracked some parts of the ice field. Alright Graveler, let's make this quick. Use Explosion. Quick, Mime, jump into the water. Unbelievable, Graveler has knocked itself out and Mr Mime did not take any damage whatsoever. Thanks to Ash thinking outside of the box, Pete sends out his Quaister, then something unexpected happened. Ash and Mr Mime were arguing, then Ash recalls it. Everyone is confused. Pete inquires about this. Ash says sorry about Mr Mime, the only way it will battle with me if it's for one-on-one battles after what happened in yesterday's battle. It's something I'm going to work on with it to take part in longer battles in the future, but for now, that's what we agreed on. So it's willing to take a forfeit, Pete says. Ash says, yeah, it's very stubborn sometimes. I haven't had the Pokemon for very long yet, so I'm still getting to know it. Pete said, I'll give you credit, the Pokemon is strong, thanks. Now let's get on with the battle, shall we? Ash sends out Kingler and the rest of the match can play out the same way like in canon. Then we can move on to the next episode, the 4th round Rubble. We'll start this episode with the battle between Gary and Melissa. They're both down to their last Pokemon. Gary, having failed to overcome Ash back in Parrot Town, spends more time training than ever before. Melissa's Golem is no match for Blastoise, who sends Gary through to the last 16 with a Hydro Pump. Ash's match against Jeanette Fisher can play out the same way, with Bulbasaur taking out both Beedrill and Cypher, and Muk taking out Bellsprout, advancing Ash to the last 16 as well. Then we move on to the events of A Friend Indeed, with Ash meeting Richie and becoming friends with him. After this, Team Rocket wore disguises and managed to convince Ash, Richie and Gary and a bunch of other trainers to hand over their Pokeballs. Once Team Rocket who reveal who they really are, Ash and Richie go after them. They still have their bonding sesh at night before they found Team Rocket's van and get their Pokeballs back. After this, they're gonna find out they're gonna fight each other in the next match, so they part ways and prepare for the match. However, Team Rocket kidnaps Ash and everyone is waiting for him, but there's no sign of him. Gary thought to himself, this is not like Ashy Boy, he would not miss any battle for the world. I'll be back, Grandpa. Professor Oak asked Gary where's he going. He said he's gonna look for Ash. Gary sends out his Fearow and flies all over the league. After looking for a while, he finally found him and commands Fearow to pop the balloon and make the trio blast off again. Ash said, "Thank you, Gary, for helping us. It's no problem, Ash. We're even now." "What do you mean by that, Gary?" Gary said, "You and Richie got my Pokemon back, and I'll always be grateful for that. Just promise me you won't lose to him, okay, Ash?" Ash says, "Don't worry, Gary. I'll promise." They arrived at the stadium just in time, and now Ash and Richie could officially start their match. Richie sends out Happy and Ash sends out Pikachu. Pikachu charges head-on with a double edge, then Pikachu uses Thunderbolt to take out Happy. Then Richie sends out Sippo, and unlike in Canon, Pikachu was able to put up a much better fight, ends up tying rather than losing to Sippo. Then Richie sends out Sparky and Ash sends out Bulbasaur. Ash tells Bulbasaur to use Flying Whip on Sparky, making it trip over. Then Richie commands Sparky to use Thunderbolt. Bulbasaur was using its vines to protect itself. "Now Bulbasaur, put yourself in the air with Vine Whip. Now good, now use Solar Beam." After taking a powerful attack, Sparky faints and Ash wins the match, unlike in the original timeline. Ash and Richie both recall their Pokemon. Richie comes up to Ash and shakes his hand, wishing him good luck. Ash thanks him before telling Richie they should battle again sometime. Richie accepts the future challenge from Ash that he'll be the one to win next time. Ash asked Richie what was he planning on doing next. Richie simply says that he's going to continue his journey and compete in more leagues and be a Pokemon master someday. After the match, it is revealed that Ash's next opponent will be Gary. The two trainers stare each other down. This was the exact moment both of them were waiting for. Gary smiled, training for this exact moment. Gary is fully prepared for everything Ash has to throw at him. Now we move on to the next day with Ash and Gary's battle. At this point in the competition, the battles will be 6 on 6. "Alright Ashy boy, you're going down. Arcanine, I choose you." So Gary's starting off with Arcanine, huh? If that's the case, "Tauros, I choose you." "Alright, let the battle begin. Arcanine, use Flame Wheel." Tauros counter it with Takedown. Both Pokemon seemed evenly matched, their attack causing a big explosion, sending each other right back in the process. Gary commands Arcanine to use Flamethrower. Then Ash tells Tauros to use Double Team, but fails to dodge the attack. Then Gary commands Arcanine to use Fire Spin, causing Tauros to become trapped. "Alright Tauros, let's finish this off. Use Fissure." Arcanine is unable to battle, and the winner is Tauros. Gary recalls his Arcanine, then sends out his Alakazam. Ash tells Tauros to use Takedown on Alakazam, then Gary commands Alakazam to use Psychic on Tauros, and toss the Pokemon high up, then dropping it hard to the ground, knocking it out in the process. Ash recalls Tauros, thanking it for the hard work it put in the battle. Then Ash sends out his Kingler. "Alright Kingler, use Crab Hammer." Alakazam countered with a Focus Punch attack. Both Pokemon's attacks seemed even for a second, but Kingler was able to overpower the Focus Punch by sending Alakazam flying in the air with an uppercut. Ash tells Kingler to use Bubble, then Gary commands Alakazam to use Psybeam, the move causing smoke to appear. "Alright Kingler, let's finish this off with a Hyper Beam." Then Gary commands Alakazam to use Miracle, striking back, hitting Kingler with double damage and knocking it out. Ash recalls Kingler, thanking it for its effort in the battle, and sends out his Pidgeotto. Gary tells Alakazam to use Psybeam, then Ash commands Pidgeotto to use Sand Attack, blinding Alakazam's vision. Then Ash tells Pidgeotto to use Double Edge, hitting Alakazam and knocking it out. Then suddenly, Ash's Pidgeotto was glowing and starting to evolve, and Ash was so excited, and now Pidgeotto has become a Pidgeot. Gary records his Alakazam and then sends out his Fearow. Gary commands Fearow to use Drill Peck, and Ash tells Pidgeot to use Air Slash, overpowering Fearow, flinching it in the process. "Way to go Pidgeot, you're doing great, now use Aerial Ace." Then Gary commands Fearow to use Agility, increasing its speed, and now Fearow has a much easier time hitting Pidgeot with its attacks. Both Pokemon collided at one another, neither Pokemon giving in. Gary tells Fearow to use Hyper Beam. Ash commands Pidgeot to use Hurricane, and Hurricane was able to overpower the Hyper Beam, Fearow got hit by a tornado from the hurricane, knocking the Pokemon out. Gary recalls Fearow back to its Pokeball. Not bad, Ashy boy, not bad at all. I have to give credit where it's due, your Pidgeot is very well trained. But however, that does not mean you will be able to beat me in this battle, and I'll prove it to you right now. Electabuzz, I choose you. Pidgeot, use Double Edge. Alright, Electabuzz, use Protect. Electabuzz, use Thunderbolt. The attack lands, hitting Pidgeot and knocking it out in the process. Then Ash recalls Pidgeot. Thank you so much, Pidgeot. You did absolutely amazing in the battle today. You took out Gary's 2 Pokemon. You definitely deserve some rest. Alright, Muck, I choose you. Gary commands Electabuzz to use Thunder Punch on Muck, but the Pokemon was able to take the attack like it was nothing. Ash tells Muck to use Sludge Bomb, hitting Electabuzz and causing it to get poisoned in the process. Electabuzz, use Thunderbolt. Alright Muck, use Dig. To dodge the attack and hitting Electabuzz with a super effective move. And with the poison on top of that, it's just too much for Electabuzz to take and the Pokemon goes down. Gary recalls his Electabuzz and then sends out his Nidoking. Ash commands Muck to use Body Slam on Nidoking. Then Gary commands Nidoking to use Horn Drill. Muck felt some intense pain. Not only did Nidoking break free from the Body Slam, it took out Muck very quickly. Ash was shocked. He realised Gary's Nidoking had a one-hit KO move. Ash had to be very careful at this point in the battle. Ash recalled his Muck. Thank you so much Muck, you did great in this battle, you deserve some good rest. Then Ash sends out his Bulbasaur. Alright Nidoking, use Poison Jab. Quick Bulbasaur, use Fine Lip to send yourself to the air once again. And now use Laser Leaf. Nidoking, counter it with a Mega Horn, successfully destroying the leaves in the process. Now Nidoking, charge head on. Ash, thinking quick on his feet, commands Bulbasaur to use Sleep Powder. Alright Bulbasaur, use Dig. Hitting with a powerful blow, causing Nidoking to wake up. Alright Nidoking, let's finish this with a Horn Drill. Ash was waiting for this exact moment. Alright Bulbasaur, use Leech Seed. Stopping Horn Drill completely and sapping Nidoking's health away. Alright Bulbasaur, charge head on with a takedown, and after the hit, Nidoking goes down. Gary recalled his Nidoking back to its Pokeball. Gary's down to his last Pokemon. I have to give you credit Ashy boy, you and your Pokemon have done well in this battle, but playtime is now over. It's time to show you our true power. Blastoise, I choose you. Blastoise, use your tail to jump. Wait, it could jump? Yeah, I learned that strategy from you, Ash. Now Blastoise, use Ice Beam. Quick, Bulbasaur, use Razor Leaf. But it wasn't enough, and the Ice Beam was able to overpower the Razor Leaf, hitting Bulbasaur for super effective damage. Now Blastoise, let's finish this off with a Skull Bash. Bulbasaur, use Fine Lip to dodge it, but Bulbasaur was exhausted and unable to dodge the attack, getting hit with full force, and it was just too much for Bulbasaur to take and the Pokemon goes down. Ash recalls his Bulbasaur, thanking it for the hard work it put in the battle. Ash is down to his last Pokemon as well. Ash stares at the Pokeball and said, it's all up to you now, Mime, I choose you. Both Pokemon stare each other down. This is the rematch both Pokemon have been waiting for. Mime, use Focus Punch. Blastoise, bite Mr Mime's hand now. Trapping Mr Mime's hand, the Pokemon was unable to move. What? But how? Is Blastoise's jaws so strong? We've been training for this exact moment, Ashy boy. Now Blastoise, toss Mr Mime on the battlefield. Mime, are you okay? The Pokemon was able to get back up at its feet. Yes, way to go Mime, I knew you can do it. Now Blastoise, use Skull Bash. Mime, use Psychic on Blastoise. Blastoise, use Withdraw. The Pokemon got in its shell with a surprise Hydro Pump, hitting Mr Mime with a powerful blow. Ash was left there speechless. No matter what he tries, Gary is always one step ahead of him. Ash doesn't know what to do. Gary, capitalizing on the opportunity he has now, commands Blastoise to finish this battle off with a Hydro Cannon. The attack was so powerful it caused smoke to appear and after the smoke disappears, Mr Mime goes down. Mr Mime is unable to battle and the winner is Blastoise, and Gary Oak has advanced to the semi-finals. It was a long and fierce battle, but in the end Gary emerged victorious. Thank you Blastoise, you did great like always and you deserve a lot of rest my friend. Gary comes up to Ash. That battle today was awesome. You shouldn't feel bad for losing, you and your Pokemon did great. You see Ash, when we tied, I felt like a failure and I spent a lot of time training and coming up with a perfect strategy for Mr Mime and it worked out beautifully. Hey Gary, even though I lost today, I feel like I've gotten a lot stronger by battling you today. I would cheer for you in your next couple of matches, Gary. Thanks Ash, and the two shake hands. Looks like Ash has taken it pretty well. I guess one of them had to lose out there. Yeah Misty, it was a pretty close fight and Ash did very well. And seeing the two shake hands, it's a big deal. They're both slowly gaining respect for one another. They both look like winners to me. They should be proud of themselves for such a great battle, the professor said. Ash's mum responds with, I know he's disappointed, but I couldn't be any more prouder if he won. Then we cut to a few days later as the Indigo League Championship has come to an end. Let's give a big hand to our winner, Gary Oak from Parrot Town. Ash can't believe Gary actually won, but he can't help but feel happy for him. Richie comes up to Ash. Well, maybe we didn't win, but we sure had a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a blast, Ash said. Alright Ash, I'm heading home now. Make sure you train hard. I will. Goodbye Richie. Alright, it's time to head back to Pallet Town. Let's see what our next adventure brings, Pikachu. And this is where we leave things for now. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and sharing the video. It would really help out with the YouTube algorithm. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. And ring the bell so you don't miss out on future videos.